What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I am coming at you from the Loves in Richmond, Indiana. A couple weeks ago, I had a conversation with a guy at Prime that was upgrading from TNT, and he was just asking for some suggestions or things that he should think about. And I thought, you know what? It's been a while since I've done a real video. Let me go ahead and speak my piece on this. All right, so first of all, if you are considering upgrading, or if you're upgrading from TNT status to your own truck at Prime, you know, there's a lot of different factors. You know, age could be one, money could be another one, a bunch of different things. But just as a blanket statement, one thing I'm going to just tell you is the money's not going anywhere. I think a lot of people that upgrade without any thought. And some people actually have a thought, but then they go and make the exact wrong move with what their plans were. A good example would be, you hear somebody saying, I'm just going to be at Prime for my 1 year experience, then I'm bouncing to another company. If that's what your plans are, getting into a lease is about the dumbest thing that you can do. First of all, these leases are designed to be completed. Prime leases are a little bit more money than what you're going to find out there on the market. You know, if you're going to be talking about Hirschbach or Swift or some of these other companies. But the lease completion bonus at the end is so big it makes up for it. If you don't complete that lease, then you've really erased the main benefit of leasing a truck, which is completing a lease. So think about how long that you plan on being here, or get a short-term lease. So let's say you say, you know what, I'm just going to complete my year and bounce out. Don't go get the brand new truck that they're offering. First of all, the payment's going to be higher than an older one, and like I said, you got to complete that lease for it to make sense. So get a 1 year lease. I think I've even seen 6-month leases out there. Get a truck that's got some time on it, so you're not married to that truck forever, or paying out some alimony, you know, once you step away from that truck. So that's the first thing I'm gonna say. Second thing is, how much money do you have behind you? I was watching one of my boys, Romaine the trucker, go check him out, and he said something, and I don't know why it sounded so profound to me, but he was talking about being on vacation and all this kind of stuff, and I forgot how he put it, but he said, I've done all this stuff and I've never been in the hole, or whatever it is. That is so profound right there, because if you lease a truck and you go home, you're gonna be in the hole at some point. Now, if you don't have any money, that's, you know, if you don't have any money, trying to go home on a lease is could be pretty hard, especially if the wrong things hit you. I don't know if any of you guys are watching Jasmine over at Slime Pack. Her truck is giving her so many problems, and the only reason she's able to withstand those issues is because she has so much money coming in from YouTube that it's not that big of a deal to her. But if you step into this lease game and you don't have a little bit of money stacked away, and you pick the wrong truck, it could be a brand new truck, but you pick the purple one instead of the green one, and the purple one has the problems, you could have some issues. So personally, I wouldn't lease unless I had some money behind me. I'm not going to tell you how much money, because that's going to be different from person to person, but I would at least want to be able to touch enough money to live for 6 months minimum before I get into a lease. That's me. Now, there's been a lot of people that have made it successfully stepping into a lease with zero money down, but at that point you're just gambling. Okay, whether it be you're gambling on the market, you're gambling on your truck, or whatever. So that another piece of advice is, this money is not going anywhere. I had more money behind me than the average person that comes into trucking, and I spent 7 months on my trainer's truck. Not because I needed to, not because anything like that. I wanted to be overly prepared, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying spend 7 months in your truck, but go in company for, 6 months or whatever while you knock off the rust or whatever you might have to do isn't a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I would almost venture to say that I would make this a requirement. If I had a trucking company, I would probably require all drivers at least go company for 6 months just to get the systems down, get your driving skills kind of tuned in, all that kind of stuff. That's just me. Like I said, plenty of people came out here to Prime or any other company and, took a month to get their CDL, and even at some companies spent another 2 weeks or 3 weeks on the road and came back out on their own and have been in the trucking industry for 20 years making a killing. I'm just saying that that's going to be the exception, I would say, more so than the rule. Another thing is don't let peer pressure get to you. A lot of people get pressured into, seeing their boys from, or girls or whatever from orientation, and they're upgrading and they're getting their truck, and you might hear people, talking about the money that they're making and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times you're not going to hear when people aren't making the money, and a lot of times you won't hear it on a day-to-day basis. You might hear people or see people on Facebook or whatever complaining when they're on their way out or whatever, but a lot of times you won't hear. You might hear, okay, I made $3,000 this week, or that, but then they're not hearing about the, I went on home time, spent a week at home, and then when I came off of home time, I'm going to kind of relate this to myself. The times aren't going to be right, but I spent 3 weeks at home one time. But let's just say I spent a week at home, and then I come out on the road, and then my air system went down on my truck, so I had to get towed 1,000 miles. Or not 1,000 miles. I had to get towed 60 miles, so that's $500, and then I had to sit for a day. Those are things that can happen. If you don't have the money set aside, those become real problems. And a lot of times when you get in that hole, it's hard to get out. Even if you are running your ass off, you could be in the hole because you took a week off and then something happened right away. But then it could, like now, and I'm not complaining about this, but I came off of home time 2 weeks ago. I've done 2 34s already, and this is going to be a 40 right here. Now, I knew what I was getting into when I took this load, right? But I looked at the country, and I was like, you know what? My philosophy, and this is a totally different thing, my philosophy is I'm going to survive the winter and make money in the summer. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go chill out in Indiana. I know I got time on the load. I could have turned the load down, but, you could be on a streak like this where personally, I can survive with a low week, and I'll still make money. At this point, this truck is paid off. But if you're not in that situation, now you're in the hole again. I mean, it's not hard to get. I've talked to people all the time. Some of my boys have been in a situation where they haven't got paid for a month, and probably more in some cases. So all I'm going to say is really think about what your goals are. I don't think I hear enough people in trucking talk about their actual goals. What are your goals in trucking? Are you even going to be in trucking a year from now? I look at my orientation class, and of all the people that were in my orientation class, which is probably made up of about 4 different classes, the way Salt Lake City worked, there might be, let me just use a percentage wise, there might be 5% of us that are still in trucking, and probably in that first year, I'd probably say that there might have been 35% of us left. So I think going company allows you to figure out if trucking is actually for you or if Prime is for you. Like I said, you could come out of training, upgrade your own truck, drive it for 6 months, realize the truck is not for you, and now you're turning in the truck after potentially not maximizing your income and definitely getting a bill, whether you choose to pay that or not, when you go to turn the truck in, or at least getting that last paycheck compromised. So think about what your goals are. You know, I made a mistake, and I made a mistake because my mistake was this. I figured a newer truck would have less problems than an older truck. That was just my thinking at the time. So when I upgraded, I knew I was going to want to go lease purchase real soon. I almost was going to do it right off the bat, but I knew that was going to be what my plan was. And what did I do? The mistake I made was I went ahead and leased a newer truck. I think it had 70,000 miles on it, and did not complete that lease because my truck came in, and obviously I would have probably had to drive the truck, if I remember correctly, another year and a half or whatever to complete that lease. My truck came in. I didn't lose a ton of money, but I did lose some money on that lease completion bonus. Let's say it was like $3,000 or something like that. So align what you do with your goals are in trucking. If you're not sure if you're going to be in trucking a year from now, go company. If you don't feel, if you can't see 3 years into the future, and I'm going to say at Prime, or as long as those leases are, because you could go to Success Leasing, they could have a year lease, 6-month lease, year and a half month lease. If you can't see out further than what the lease turn-in date is on the truck that you plan on getting, I think that's a mistake. So if I can look a year in advance, you know, I could do anything for a year. And there's a truck there that has a year lease on it, pick that. If you already, you know, especially older people, we tend to be able to look in the future a little bit easier. If I know I'm gonna be driving in 3 years, and I know I like Prime as a company, which kind of can change, you never know what's gonna happen. You know what? Let me take that brand new truck or the one with low miles on it. But if you can't, newer people, here's my suggestion. If you're coming out of TNT training, I'm going to suggest that you get a truck with a year and a half lease on it or less. If I don't have the numbers, but if you were to ask Prime what the lease completion rate is on new upgrades from TNT on leases, and I'd say anywhere from 6 months to 3 years, the lease completion percentage has probably got to be less than 20%, if I was to venture a guess. I know a lot of people turning in a lot of trucks, and a lot of it is the money. At least with company, you're guaranteed money, and a lot of people are better off getting guaranteed money than gambling on what they can potentially get. Now, that's my advice. Take it if you want to take it, but and also look at the benefits between leasing and going company in terms of 401k match, insurance, all that kind of stuff. Look into that. Or you see people making these little dumbass mistakes, and trust me, I've made them, where, let's just say one thing that could have happened. You might back into somebody. You might get stuck somewhere. You know, company, you're not going to be swallowing all that. You know what I mean? So if if you mess something up, that's not going to be on you. And that's huge when it comes to new drivers. Anyway, I kind of rambled on a little bit. I hope you got my point. No peer pressure. Look into the future. And there's plenty of money out here, and it ain't going nowhere. If you throttle things back for 6 months while you go company or whatever, you could be further ahead in 6 months for all you know. I mean, go to Facebook. You will hear more people whining about what they aren't doing on Facebook than what they are doing. That right there should sell you on company anyway. Or a short lease. Like I said, you don't have to go company. But young people have a short attention span, and they don't see far into the future. How do you minimize that risk? Shorten up your horizon. Shorten up the truck you're getting. If you're going to go lease, shortest term lease possible. Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by. No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.